Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Well, that didn't work out as much as I thought I would. Oh, welcome to Learning to Space Engineer. Thanks for coming back on a Sunday night, or if you're watching on YouTube, Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Thursday, or whatever. Hi, it's me. This Codex, yeah. It's a strange name. There is a really bizarre history behind it, but you can call me Disco for short. Anyway, so what were you doing? It looks like we finished the base, ish. Watch out for that hole. We finished our little cubby hole base here last week. Nice little comfy cozy thing. A little upstairs action, and we can look around and see everywhere. I think today it was something I was thinking I was going to get to last week and didn't because I spent too long on this, which is as we want to get the rover going. So let's get a little started on that. Actually, before we start on that, I'm actually going to exit out of here because, like I said last week and previous weeks, is that and you're gonna watch me do it. We want to add a mod, at least one every week, and you know, I was in debates as to what I'm gonna add, and I think what I'm gonna do is just make it nothing really special this week. But it is going to be probably the third most popular mod that I add, and it's just a mod that is if I can find it. It's just a decorative mod, but it's handy. I gotta remember what it's under. Not that one. Let's just do this. This. No. There it is. Rotary Airlock. Add. Okay. Okay. Load. So what this does is it adds an airlock door. Which we don't need on the planet per se because we have atmosphere and breathable air and the temperature is relatively good, so not really a required mod per se, but it's one that I add all the time, and we'll just go ahead and replace our door with it here. It looks like this, and it usually sits in that spot there, and then toolbar 3, number 6 slot. So if you hear me go for the old number 3-6, that's the one. Okay, and we are doing blue with the old 3-6. Put that right there. Now this one takes quite a bit of parts, and one of the particular parts that it takes that's something to be mindful of is it does take, if you notice it'll say shift to scroll, so you hold down the shift key and scroll and then you go through the parts, but you notice it takes 4 metal grids, much like a small cargo container. So if you're gonna build it, you better have the ability to do, you better have cobalt at your handiness. I'm gonna do a little decorative swap now with this door. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna experiment on something. We're gonna do that and that and that, and then we're gonna do that. It's level 6. That. And it's something I said last week, which is I tend to iterate over things, so you know, the base changes every, you know, all the time. Towards the end of the last stream, also I did move. I made sure everything was welded, because I said everything was welded, and then I went through and I found like one block that wasn't welded. Another thing I did too is that, not that I think any of you are really like auditing the videos that hard, but I moved, because I was keeping all of the components along with tools in this small cargo container, and I was running out of space. So what I did was I moved them into the large cargo container 3, moved the ingot material into 2, which shares space with my ice. So it's kind of ore, ingot, component, like you do. All right, over here. Ah, can't fill that one. Right there. Gonna go ahead and pick out some of those, which I don't need. Why am I doing that? Ah, getting a habit of pushing down, like make more than one. I got that oxygen bottle. It's still sitting in that other thing, but yeah. So let's see. So this is the beauty of this is that you don't have to use 2 doors to make an airlock, and this comes in handy when you're doing airtight spaces, because what happens with airtight spaces, you got to use 2 doors, or otherwise you vent all your air, and then you have to wait for your you go through a lot of ice, because then it, like all the air rushes out, then your air vent's got to like repopulate all the air back in, and in the process of doing so, if you're using an oxygen tank, or if you're just doing an O2H2 gen, it's gotta pull, you know, pump all that stuff out, and it's gonna eat up ice. So that it's handy. Plus, it's just, I like it. I'm a big fan of it, so I use it a lot. Probably too much. I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm working at myself to stop using it so much. I have a current standing rule: external doors only, and only on planets that need it. But it was the mod that we added this week, so it's there. Okay, so we need to make a rover. Okay, let's change my default color back to something a little bit more reasonable. I got metal already. This is a good spot to build stuff. So now how I normally build stuff from scratch or from a projector. In this case, is I usually set down on a landing gear. Some people use rotors and then build off the rotor and stuff like that. They like the idea of that whatever they're building, when they build the batteries can charge up, whereas when you build externally like this, what it means is that you're going to have to do something to charge the batteries at some point. But I found it's a small price to pay, because what ends up happening for me a lot of times is that it starts to get weirdly associated with the grid that's attached to. So if I put a rotor on here, put a small head, and built off that, detached it, somehow it'd still be tied to this grid somehow. And it's really bad when you do it on something like a large rover to some kind of small plane, and it's still associated. So the cockpit starts driving the rover while you're flying your little ship. Which, if anyone has been a fan of the Wrong Way Down series, we got to watch that in action. That's not what I want. That's what I want. Alright, so this is my standard projection build for small grid. Landing gear, small battery, because that's all you need, and I don't want to waste material. A control unit to control projector, and a projector on top. So place all that, and we just start welding and clicking, welding and right clicking. Get all the parts. If we have battery cells, does that look? Nope. We're probably need some anyway, so. One and two. I think I've done this. I don't know if I have done this in a previous stream, so this might be first time. All right, so we got our projector. Go to blueprints. I gotta figure out what we're gonna do. So it's gonna be a rover. So let's look at what rovers we've got. The A2. I think I've published that one. I don't know if I really like that one, but you know, since it's already on the workshop, we'll go with that one. All right. So when it first launches, depending on how I obviously blueprinted this in the wrong direction, but whatever. So go in, and now that last week we put on build vision, one of the things that's really handy is we can open this up, and now we can use the wheel instead of having to be stuck in an interface trying to make all these adjustments. So I'm just gonna put this up, and then since it's sideways, I gotta go this way, and then take it back down. Don't want it too far down because we want the wheels to clear so that they'll actually like build. So let's pull this back slightly. So what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna get it close, but I'm not directly contact. So for you to be able to weld off a blueprint, it has to be attached to the same grid. So what that means is like I'm gonna get this close to this thing, but I'm not gonna get it like right on top. What you really can do is like scroll it back until it touches the projector, but I tend to get it close and then I put blocks in place because this gives me a point to grind it off of this like projector assembly, because I'm not keeping it attached, because there's a good chance I already have, because a lot of times with the ships that I build, I put a projector on them. You know what I really needed to add? I'm adding 2 mods this week, so let's make a mental note that we're not going to add a mod next week, because I am not going to try to weld this by hand. It is too intricate and with small grid. I'll show you a little bit and then I'll turn on. I'm gonna do the nasty. The most debated block mod, I think, amongst like content creators, and that's the Nanobot one. Let's see, edit settings, mod, build and repair. I will make sure to put so Nanobot build and repair system by, I think it's Gate. I'll have it in the description at some point. Oops, clicked on it, forgot to add it. So that one, alright, it's in there. Okay. And actually, you know what? Crap, there's a way I could do this without that. Alright, I'm adding this mod. I'm not going to use it, because I should show you the other way. There is another way, a better way. Well, not better is subjective. All right. Yeah, I can do it from there. So welding this is going to be a pain in the ass because you got to weld each individual block and trying to get in and out. And I've done it in previous videos where I showed trying to weld a small grid thing, and it's just mentally painful. Let's go with that. Let's figure out where I can pick this up. I'm not going to need this drill rig like it is, so I'm going to take this out and I'm going to pick it off of here and I'm going to use the parts from it. So let's
inventory full.
Get this sucker out of here.
Inventory full.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I have got the default inventory level.
Inventory full.
This is like, I usually go up one level then default, so I can at least get a hole drill into my inventory.
Inventory full.
That gets annoying. I don't like going overboard with it because then you get
inventory.
Yeah, it's great to be able to carry around all these parts, but then you end up carrying around a lot of parts, and then you end up getting confused and stuff like that. But I feel that, like, just for ease of use, you should be able to carry at least all of something other than like a refinery or a jump drive, but like a drill, you should be able to at least hold all of those parts. Just saves a bit on the grind.
Inventory full.
The trick is, whenever you're building a base or you're building a a big ship to build other smaller ships, and whatever your gameplay is involved in, try to have your inventory access points nearby, so you don't have to just carry it around in your inventory. Just like me doing this, all I'm doing is going right this block over here and pasting it, and placing it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go with, I think this is on the default, so I'm gonna go with that. So, and that's another thing I was actually, let me drop this stuff in here first, and I'll show you what. So, some tricks that you'll see some other people do, and I do, is instead of going in here, going to inventory and going, I want some of these, some of that, or if you're doing a lot of blocks, because the build planner will only hold 8 assemblies in your setup. So if you're using like if you're doing like a line of conveyors, your inventory can hold more than 8 conveyor parts, depending on how you have your inventory set up. So you right click on like 8 of them, and then you go to like the 9th one, and this is like can only hold 8 assemblies, and plus, like, if you're just building a bunch of blocks, that's just kind of silly. So what you do is you go and you select the block that you're going to build, or that you're going to, a chain of blocks you're going to build, let's say this one, and then just hold that part near the access point, and you click it and it loads it in. Well, if you keep clicking it, it will keep loading it. So now I've just loaded a whole bunch of them. Now I can do that. So another trick to that is like, so like I'm doing a line of conveyor, so I've added like a whole bunch of them. So I'm just gonna use those parts, and should be okay. We'll put trying to make sure I have enough room for a piston, and I'm a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna start this out a little bit. I'm gonna start it out this way, like that, and then go like that.
Energy low.
I need to add some more. So now I'm going to place a piston here, open here, and I put it in a corner. I'm going to add a piston here. Should be able to get by with one, I think. And then I'm going to add a welder. And it's going to do all the work. It's going to do all the crappy work for me. Or at least most of it. But so the welder is actually pretty good. It will do basically about 1 to 1.5 blocks out from it. But this particular rover is about a little over 2 blocks wide. So that's why I've got this piston here. I'm going to push it up first. I'm going to do one run out and back, and then I'm going to bring it back to here and do another run out and back. Hopefully we should be able to just weld the whole thing. Alright. And I am aware of the power situation. Okay. So I'm going to just throw all the steel plate that I've already got on me, so I'll empty out my inventory before I go and go grab more stuff. There, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've added 8. Now see if I was to add this one. Get the warning, build planner capacity reach. Components will not add. Alright, let's see. Going. So one of the downsides of the rotary door is because it is an airlock. It's a little slower to get through than a standard door. So I added 8, but my inventory wasn't going to carry them all anyways. We knew that going into it. But they're already added, so I don't have to worry about going back and having to add more per se. Just go back and center click on this cargo thing and get more of them. So one of my habits I had to learn how to break is when you start using Build Planner a lot. What the hell? You do have a tendency to, when something hits the end, so you hit here, and then in right clicking, and I know it said all components were grabbed, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to grab that one too. But I've had where it's just like, you know, it's something big, so I've welded, I got the little incomplete noise, and so I went and then I right clicked again, so I keep adding the part over and over again. Then it's like you go to inventory and it's like, see, I just did it now. So then you end up with like a bunch of random ass parts in your inventory and you don't know what the hell they're for. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is, so this is only going to weld what is highlighted here, and the best way to see that, and one of the things I need to do on this projector, I usually keep projection on, because what happens is if it gets welded and it then gets grinded off, it won't reappear. Then show only buildable, and so what you see is this is all that's going to get welded. And if my welder runs through one time, it's not going to get all the stuff on the far side, which is what I want to weld. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of hand welding, one, to show you how much of a pain in the butt it is, but two is so that I can make sure that it's reaching the far side. So grab all, gotta get out of that. Grab a bunch of steel plate, and to grab steel plate, all I'm going to do is just take this block, hold it against there, you didn't see it, and then center click it a bunch of time, and then it loads up a bunch of plate for me. And it's a little time saver to keep you having to go in and out of the inventory. So this is one of the problems with this is like when you start welding stuff, it starts starting a bunch of blocks that you can't see. And then also the other stuff starts to get blocking and obscuring your view. Alright, so I don't want to go too crazy. I'm going to go this piston here. And I'm going to just change its max velocity to about 2.5, which is one large block, and reverse it. Alright, see how that looks. That looks good. Now I can turn on this welder. Don't go in front of this welder. It will fry your butt. Oh crap. Did what I was afraid it would do. I need to start from the other side. So this is why I said that you want to keep projection, because I have to grind this off now. So I need to run it the other way. I can't run it from back from back to front. I need to run it front to back, and I have to get all these parts out of the way. So I gotta turn this off for a second so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so let's extend this. But what I was saying before, you don't want to get in front of that welder. I'm going to slow this down to about 0.1. Actually, I'm going to wait until it's fully extended. And turn this back on. Okay. Just make sure like it's gonna. So I'm gonna probably backbone this. Come here. And where's my welder at? Cool, this might work. Let's turn on the show and see how it go. So I want to go one and reverse. Now hopefully it didn't start grinding blocks that gets in its way. which it looks like it just did. God damn it. Alright. Explosions everywhere. Reverse. Alright, so we're gonna have to do this a different way. Fine. As you can tell, I don't usually do it this way, or actually I don't do it this quickly. I usually spend a little bit more time thinking about it. But what's life without a little bit of explosions? Again, why we click that key projection. So we blow crap up by accident and clear it out. We need some chemical components. Reverse that. We have battery components. I think I mashed which battery components, so we'll have those. Yep. I don't know if this has 2 batteries or 4 or something. So we'll just run this back. Does look like we need to have it run a little bit lower. Ah. Okay, let's do one more pass back, and then we'll rebuild it to get the undercarriage on the other side. So just so you know, I don't want to get too close to these welders. If I get up in here, I get hurt a lot. So some people will put like sensors around the around there, so it auto shuts off if you happen to fly into the range of the welder. I like to live dangerously. Plus, I don't like wasting the 15-20 minutes it takes to set up a sensor. You can read that as, I am lazy. Much like the reason why I'm using a welder to weld up this rover. Let's see, how's our clearance there? How's our clearance, Clarence? Probably go 1 block in, but I don't know if I want to risk it, so. That's good enough. Doesn't sound like it caught anything, so we'll shut that off. Pick that off. Over here, grab one of these. Put that there. And that's you'll find that once you start like using, getting used to using welder blocks, this is like, why do I ever hand mine anything? Ooh. Let's see how we're doing on parts while that's doing the business. Looks good. Probably use some more motors. We need glass. Probably use like another 100 motors just in case. I like to be over 100 with motors. That's okay. That's okay. We're missing the glass. Might do 50 more of those too. Good at everything else. I mean, the way I look at it is through all this, I don't really need solar cells. I don't need reactors. I've made those. Can't make those. Yeah, so this is all good. What did I select? Don't need that many. It's like I made like 300. So this cargo container is short computers. So I looked through this a couple of times. Did not see it. Oh yeah. Would have been right there where the brick is. Put those in. We need those. Reverse our piston. Now I've built like actual like factories that'll do all of this. It's usually for I usually build them for fighters because I go through a lot of fighters. And it's not to say that we might end up doing that at some point. Grab this cockpit eats. See, and I missed a couple things because I didn't have all that, all of the computers. Oh, we at least got one of the batteries, so that's a good sign. It didn't reach this block, so the only thing with like welders is like sometimes you miss a couple. But I'd rather just fix a couple missing blocks than have them to weld the whole damn thing, so. Man, I go through hydrogen real fast. I always like to have 2 bottles and just swap them periodically. I don't like carrying 2 bottles. So that's a big thing a lot of people will do is they'll just carry 2 bottles. All that does is it doesn't stop you from running, forgetting to fill and run out. Just makes that time in between when you do run out, and man, I feel like I blueprinted a crashed version of this. There's blocks missing. Arrgh. So this is, I've run into this before, so these blocks aren't welding because, even though I'm pointing right at it, because the wheel's in the way. This is this weird like subgrid thing. So if I was to take this wheel off, not that one, just this one, I can put those in and then go back in here and add. Then I get the it can't be placed. Son of a. I've had it work in the past, but this is why when you're building stuff, you gotta make sure you like keep that clearance. So see that? Well, can happen is that if I could spin this wheel just a little bit, the hitbox for that wheel, because they start square, but because they're a subgrid, see that one's rotated a little bit. That's square, that's running. But if it's rotated ever so slightly, and it's not like I can rub up against it. So I wonder if I can. So if I juice it a bit, you can see it stopped at the same spot. You know, rotate the angle, and you can put those blocks in, and then it doesn't consider it a problem anymore. But and it's probably better not to put it there and cause a clangy mess. So let's start turning this off. We'll just leave it unwelded. I gotta fix the blueprint anyway. Alright, so what we're gonna do for the other side is we're gonna, once this gets fully retracted, we're gonna extend this out all the way. All the way. And hopefully we have our enough clearance. Might have to do something slightly squirrely. Yep, that's what I thought. Check this out. And put our handy dandy welder job right back here. Fortunately, it's not going to reach the. This might actually work because it will weld to the side, so. It might have a few blocks that we end up being responsible for. So once this gets done welding this stuff, then we'll start advancing it. Yeah, see, it's I see all this stuff on the back, I can't reach it. But that's okay. Let's this might get a little finicky. Have to keep an eye on it. If it gets too close, we're gonna have to back it off. Starting to rub. Sometimes the front welded bits on that the welders are a little bit have a little bit of give in them, And since it was the side of this that was rubbing, I might be able to get a little bit farther if I turn it like this. Plus I might be actually able to weld a little bit more of it too. Yeah, I got that. Let's see how so you get a little bit more give there. And I don't have a contact issue there, so I might go one more block back. See how that reacts.
I got his band like I'm Barry Bonds. Running through the money, but the money's long. I don't love it, but I need to keep it coming on. Only friendly, me and friends, we don't get along. I put that on my name, that I put them on. I put myself on stage and say sing along. I might book a session, do 100 songs. I'ma let you hear 'em just to prove you wrong. On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Count blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Way up, way up. On track, now we gon' way up. Way up, now we gon' way up.
Yes, fun with welders. Fun with a single welder. It's a lot easier once it's like fully put together, and then you just drive it around it. Okay, let's set this to 1. See if it actually even touches anything. It's got a little bit of reach, but it's not gonna get too far. It'll basically like touch the blocks that are like right at the end. Yeah, so it'll hit that wheel, but it's not going to get like a one. We need to reverse this. If we got this a little bit more square, we probably would have been in business. There's actually a way to fix that, though. But the question is how much is it worth? Because realistically, I think I got most of this welded together. So really, it's just a matter of finishing off just a few blocks. I'd rather just do that. So. But as you can see, we welded this significantly quicker than it would be if we were to do it by hand in any other way. So that's always nice. Considering I started late, about 15 minutes late, so we're probably about half hour into welding this thing and it's pretty much done. Lights, lights. So, try to find the glowy bits. Come here. These little tight squeezed parts that are. That's good. Got some stuff up here. Okay, well, where's that plate? I'm actually gonna, while I'm in here, grab a few computers because I know there's a couple parts that we're missing. Some. Alright, so. I feel like I blueprinted. Well, so one of the things I've been doing in my spare time and my off-stream time is I've been working on stuff that I want to post to the workshop or have posted to the workshop, getting them a little bit cleaned up and stuff like that. Looks like this one's gonna be one of them because it looks like it's got broken parts in it. Plus, this is not. It's not really the rover I wanted. It's got some some cool bits, but also not the greatest. It's kind of a boring design, so looks pretty good. Let's see what it says on the dashboard here. Oops, I didn't see one right there. Here, do this, and scroll through. Everything looks done. Gonna have to reset the freaking dashboard again. I hate when the hotbars don't turn. There's one of the downsides of blueprints, man. This is that hotbar settings don't always transfer over. And this is one of the reasons why I've said in the past is like
Inventory full.
Kind of get yourself standardized into, you know, whatever works for you, but standardized into kind of how you position things on hotbars, particularly when it comes to rovers and fighters. And that'll help you when you have situations like this where you go into, you know, you've blueprinted something and you go to the hotbar and not like half the items on the hotbar are missing, and you're like, well, what the hell was there? What's bad for me is like I have some old blueprints that because I recently like reinstalled my Space Engineers when I rebuilt my computer, so all the and I, because of the reinstall, I re-imported all of my so watch this action. Actually, let's, before we drop this. So, what do we got? Headlights. That's gonna be that's already on there on 6. Wheels. Okay, so batteries. That should be there, and they are. That should be there. this. Oh, actually, that's probably on the. So right here. On off. I'm moving the headlights, even though that group's already there, but it's not where I like it. I like it right here. Off. Connector. Slot. Camera rear. View. Gonna go here. I'm gonna put this with rovers. I've started putting that there because I'm less likely nowadays than I was in the past to accidentally hit that button and shut everything off. Plus it's a rover, so if it loses power 9 times out of 10 you're not gonna drop from the sky. Is this what I think it is? Oh, that's for the small battery. Oh. This I'm going to put over here. I usually leave the because they draw so much power, I usually leave the survival kits off unless I know it's one of those things where I'm, you know, at a location where I could die or I need to use it, and I turn it on. Alright, back to one. I want this. I'll put you here on and off, and then you here on and off. That should be good. Got a lot of wheels. We're doing. When you have 4 wheels aside, you can put them all on one. When you have 5 wheels aside, you got to do them in 2 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. It's good to have these on alternate toolbars, so when you have to add a wheel, you can hop it and click the button. A little early on prep can save you down the road. Alright, we're good there. Ooh, and now we can cut her loose. So notice how I've set this back. So if I had it sitting on this thing, it'd be really close and you could bash and it'll actually break stuff because it's like a few blocks away. Less likely to break stuff. And that's why I use a little tiny battery, because I know I'm going to grind it off and I only want to lose 2 small cells, and the projector will run long enough for me to get this built. So, brake on, off, gyros on, off, wheels are on, there should be no problem. Alright, we need a connector. Actually, we need to set the handbrake. If I remember correctly, this should sit just a little higher than normal, so that should line up without having to do any squirrely things. So let's figure out where we want it. You're a handsome devil. What's your name? Alright, we've got a rover now. Lights. It does sit a little high. It should be alright though. Might actually get connectivity. Nope. I need to put groups. So, Wonder if this is upside down. We'll see. It's old enough. And the reason I say upside down is because I think it's something I've been talking about before. Everybody and their brother got into the acceptance of things that the wheels should be all the way down when you place them and not all the way up, and that was always considered the right way. I found that later, if I flip them so the wheels are when they first are added, if they're up, the raise and lower of this is actually more correct. So when you're increasing the height and decreasing the height, it's the right direction, because you notice I have to put them backwards. I put the positive on the decrease height and the negative on the increase height. The second thing is that with doing that, it means that I don't have to hop the rover to add wheels. If the wheel pops off, the wheel spawns at a height that clears the bottom of this thing. So see how, like, I've already raised this wheel up. Notice how the bottom of this wheel is essentially clearing that, almost clearing it, because I didn't take it all the way down, but it's, and I got some still room to move that in there, because it's going to spawn at the top now instead of the bottom. It will actually spawn when the wheel is gone, even though the other wheels are compressed. With it all the way down, in other words, the other way around, you have to hop the rover to add the wheels. And it's something that it's just like, we all been doing it for like ever, because at one point someone decided the other way was the right side up, and it's not. It's the other way around. That is, this is upside down. With the old wheels, this little like big circle, if you put that on the bottom, not the top, it's one of those things, because they look at it and they go, oh, because suspension, you know, you want to have the like little shock absorber jobby in the you know, what would be basically the rack and pinion portion at the bottom, and it's just like, no, it's doesn't matter what it looks like. It works better if you flip it over. So all my new rovers I build the wheels the other way around. It's harder with the new wheels. Is that what I got on here right now? Yeah, I got the new wheels. So here's the new wheel, and the problem with it is that it's really hard to tell. So that is what everyone considers is the right way, and what I'm saying is you want to do it this way, because if you notice, that wheel is going to spawn clearing the bottom of the housing of that, and actually even almost clears the like the 2 block hitbox that takes up. But you can't really tell that versus that, other than you see like there's a little yellow kind of danger thing on there. That's why everyone thinks that's up. But if you put it like that, and the other thing to notice here too is that there's a little yellow jobby on the inside of that if it's pointing down. So to me, and you know, you do your own thing, but to me that is right side up, and this is upside down. Even though everything gives the indication it should be mounted that way, and it does give you a little bit more clearance, I find, but you do it this way, you don't have to hop the rover to add wheels. That being said, as long as the wheel is mounted on the most lowest block too. That's kind of another quirky thingy jobby. Alright, so that's hooked up so that can start charging, and also can take on ice. So let's make our A2 generator is on. We're going to cycle our engine so that it gets fuel in it. So you can see it's 100% filled now. That way, when we need it, we can start it. It doesn't have to have a tank or an O2 gen filled to start, or a battery really. The engine will start if it has fuel, even though you don't have a battery. I've tested it in the past. It has worked. Alright, so now we have a rover. The other thing that I'm going to do... So, all that's left really is to get ready to go to space. Now, we have two ways we can go to space. We can go the right away to space, or we can do the, like, let's be fully prepared to, like, do things in space kind of space, which will take a little bit longer. And the second method means that what we would be doing is building a slightly larger ship that we can put, like, a miner in it, and, you know, maybe even a landing craft, maybe this rover. Or we can just do right now, we can build something that'll just go up and out. And the third option is to do a hybrid of the two. How to make a decision. Oh, I know. Let's see. Here. Emotes. There should be this one. Okay. All right. So this is rock, paper, scissors. We'll say rock, we stay here and we build a large grid ship that can carry a miner and possibly the rover. Scissors, we will do just a quick small grid ship that we can go to space with. And paper, we're gonna do a hybrid, which is going to be a small grid, but it's larger, that's larger for like longer, you know, survivability, that can drill. It's got drills on it. All right, here we go. And 1, 2, 3. Flat hand. Oh, paper. We're doing the hybrid. Okay. Which means we're gonna. Wait. Let's do 2 out of 3 because I feel like it did paper last time, and I just want to make sure it's not doing paper every single time. 1, 2, 3. Rock. Rock. See if it ever comes up scissors. Rock again. There, scissors. Okay. Well, we got 1 paper, 2 rock, and a scissors. I think we go with the rock. I think, well, let's be honest. I really wanted rock. Alright. So that means we're going to be building a large grid ship that I can put a miner on. And I don't want to use that because that's derpy. And I already have the thing for the bob, so I'll just do that. So so we did the welder method, let's do the bob method. Alright. Bob as in the nanobot builder welder jobby. First things first, let's make sure we've got all the parts that we need. Okay, ahead of time. And the only reason I'm using this is it's something I've said in previous streams. If I'm playing by myself, I use it. If I'm playing with other people, I don't turn it on because I don't say it's cheating, but there's no point. You can work around it. But I'm streaming. I'm trying to you know, try to do stuff with some level of velocity. But what I won't do, and it's always kind of a rule I've had in the past, I don't use it on large grids, large grid builds. I only use it on small grid builds. because it's just tedious and takes a long time. Where large grid builds, I need the time to think about what the hell I'm doing. I might turn it on once I get it all designed and just to help like speed the welding along, which is probably what I'll do. All right, where are we sticking him? Where are you going? Where do you want to be, Bob? Oh, looks like 6 spot. Bob usually goes in 7. Oops. Okay, Bob. Alright, for your kids that don't know, the build and repair system, like as I've said, I will put a post into a link to it. Let's run quickly through the settings on this sucker. So you obviously you're on and off, and then your usual like terminal, inventory, toolbar config settings. He has been lovingly referred to as I always call it BARS, which is build and repair system. Wow. So, and also the usual kind of show on HUD and conveyor system on and off. Now, walk mode. Walk mode means that it will only weld or grind things attached to the grid that it's attached to. So anything outside the grid, so external ships and stuff like that, it won't touch. If you want to kind of like, you want to use it, but you don't want to go like all crazy, and like there's some people that are like, oh, you can always use it for like that. You can just enforce only using it in walk mode. The other one is fly mode, which obviously it's going to be able to handle everything around you. It'll also do other things like pick up like crap that you drop. Weld before grind. So you have work modes. You can weld before grind, grind before weld, grind if weld gets stuck, welding only and grinding only. Now, one of the things I will say with this is that Bob likes to eat things. So when you have it in weld before grind or grind before weld, and you have a subgrid, usually wheels on your vehicle, when Bob gets bored, he starts to eat wheels. So you'll want to, when you're done doing, you know, you don't want to have a grind mode available unless there's actually stuff that needs to be cleaned up around you. In other words, enemy ship parts, or you're, you know, painting things to be ground off, and at the end of that, want Bob to handle it. Just stick it in weld mode. Ignore color. So this is a confusing setting in the past. So what you want to do is, if you want to, so you go to your color palette, find a color that you don't ever use, like this red here. I hate this red, it's a horrible red. And then you can select a color, usually like pink or purple or something like that. That's usually what people do, something that they just, or just even stick with that color and whatever. What I do is, and you can set it by, if you're in this setting menu again, if you go there and you go, so this setting is for welding. This is stuff that you, this color is going to actually be for what you want it to not weld, which is confusing. It's setting for welding. It's use, ignore color, and that's what you're turning on and off. And this is going to ignore. So pick a current color. It's going to select whatever color you have selected in this palette. In this case, it's this one. Or you can do this, since I already have the color. You can set current color. If you select that, what it does is it changes that to what it has as the setting. So if you're having a problem where it's like keeps welding blocks you want it to ignore, you can go to the item and either make sure that Bob is programmed with that color, or you can make sure that your palette is set to the color it thinks it's supposed to be. The other one I don't use is usually this green here, so for the next one. So that's for setting the ignore color. And this, if you want to set it manually, here's the 3 settings, which relates to these 3 numbers right here on the side portion here. Come on. All right. So that's that section. All right. So this is the setting for one. So help others. You can, if you turn this on, it will, if you are welding or somebody else is welding, or if there's another Bob that's welding, if you want them to work together, you can turn that on. Build new is set by default. When checked, the system will also construct projected blocks. So without, by default this is set, but if you don't want it to weld up your projections, which I don't know why you wouldn't, you can deselect this. Weld to functional only. You can turn this on, and what it'll do is it only welds it up to a functional state. It doesn't weld it to 100%. Welding priority, you can change the priorities, so you can, if you, by default everything is selected, but let's say you turn off doors. You could double click it and turn it off, or you can disable it. And you can move the priority up and down, or you can re-enable it, you know. So you can say, I only want you to weld these things, or I want you to weld all these things, but I want you to weld all the armor blocks first, or the projector first. Like, smart move is always after the build and repair is put your projector first, so that you know that that gets repaired. Another thing that people do is usually like the gyro, then the thruster, you know, those kind of things. So grinding, so this is your grind color. So when you want Bob to grind something, you set this color. So like I said, this is going to be taking this spot, and I'm going to use the one that's default in Bob. So I'm going to go back down here, and I'm going to set current color. And you notice these didn't change. That's how you know that it's setting your palette to its color, not its color to your palette, because if it's setting it to your palette, these numbers would change. Okay, janitor grinds enemy blocks on and off. This would be, in other words, it doesn't care what color it is. If it's an enemy block, it grinds it. It will also grind, these are defaults, it will also grind unowned blocks. So random blocks just sitting around, it'll grind those around too. And same with neutrals. It's off to start with. Keep in mind, if you turn this on, if you have a Bob attached to your ship and you're taking your ship to go to an unknown signal, it will grind down your unknown signal before you have a chance to get out and push the button. Much like with weld, you can set it to just grind to, it only grinds to it's disabled, only grinds it till it's hacked. You can set the grind priority, much like you can set the weld priority. You can change it from grind the furthest first and work its way in, or grind the nearest first and work its way out, or you can have it do the smallest grid, so it does the little bit pieces and then works on the really big thing. I have a tendency to, when I'm using it for grinding, which the only time I use it for grinding is like I'm running like the Reavers mod, and a Reaver comes in, crashes, and obliterates everything, and so it is just like a train, a literal train wreck, you know, all around, and there's parts everywhere. It gets really kind of confusing, and it's as I'd rather have Bob working on those small little bits that are hanging all over the place. And then, because I can see the big stuff and I can work on that while he's cleaning everything up and working his way in. So Bob will also by default collect. You can set it so it collects it, so anything that's sitting around, and you can turn those different on and off. So it'll pick up material, or, you know, anything sitting on the ground that's loose, that's not an assembly or a block. You can have it only do that when it's idle. You can have it push the ore ingot immediately, push items immediately, push components immediately. You can change, like, kind of the order it goes. Show area. This is a very important thing. So with large grid, you click that and it shows the area that Bob is able to reach. So if I fly out here, you'll notice it's a pretty big block. It's 150 meters by 150 meters by 150 meters from center. What that means is from the center of Bob. So it's 75 meters that way, it's 75 meters that way. And as you know, each block is 2.5 meters, so 75 means it's 150 blocks. That's not right. It's not. It's math. It is 30 blocks in each direction. That seems right. Yes. So what you can do is you can shift this, so you can shift it up. You can shift it so instead of it looking 75 in one direction, you can have it be 150 in one direction. You can also change the distance. So in other words, you don't want Bob to cover that much area. You want him to be scoped to a certain area. You can also adjust the sound. This is actually something you generally want to adjust because Bob will get really loud, and Bob is heard everywhere, and there's this controlled by a script, but I've never used it before, so I can't comment on its functionality. I've heard the Bob welding and grinding noise, or what's more important is that when Bob can't weld something because it's out of parts, it ticks. And I've heard that tick from across space. Like the Bob was on a moon and I was on a planet and I could hear this ticking noise and I'm like, what the hell is that noise? I don't even have a Bob around here. And then it was gonna find out I was hearing the one from thousands of meters away. So I turned that down. And let's turn the area off. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of Bob. And we'll turn Bob on, and he's in fly mode, and I've set my weld and grind colors, so I'm good. By the way, so that you don't forget, this one is the ignore, this is the grind. So now that I turn Bob on, anything I didn't weld all the way, or I missed, he is now fixing. So what you'll see is stuff like, not too much, I was actually pretty ahead of the game, but he sees everything in here, blocks and everything. If I missed something, he's getting it. He's literally getting blocks under here. And even if you've only welded it partially, so it looks like it's done. Like, let's say this block here, if I was to grind it just a little bit, it looks done, but it's actually at 90%. And it's missing a blank. Now, given enough time, Bob will come over and he'll weld that. But he's got a lot of work on his hands, so we'll just let him do that. Alright, so that's the build and repair system, bars, which we've always referred to. I think it was Textfire that started it, which was in reference to. So the story goes is that Tex was playing on a stream with Wasted, who had enabled the early version of this, and he was telling a story about a short story that had to do with these things called these nano things called bobs, or some replicated thing called bobs, and they would like replicate 2000s and do work, and then they would scale back down, this kind of thing. It was a short story and stuff like that. Supposedly, not necessarily wherever a lot of people think it is Bob the Builder, the cartoon. In fact, actually, there's some who have speculated that, and I don't know, that the Bob the Builder cartoon, the reason why it was called Bob was because of the short story, but I don't know about that either. So, seems legit. Alright, we're doing, so Bob's going to build a, alright, I'm going to turn him off first. So one of the things that I usually do, which I think I should probably do right about now, is I set up a switch to turn Bob on and off, so I don't have to go in and out of the frickin' I don't have to go in and out of the interface all the time to turn him on and off. Also, remember to switch your colors off, because if you got the grind color and you place something down, it just grinds it away. Also, if you leave Bob on and you place a block, and I'll show you this in a second. I want this one. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. And I want that. Grab that. So, Bob's on. Let me say I was going to start building a new thing, and I placed down a landing gear. I was going to drop that right there, and then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to start building some stuff on this. Actually, check. Oh, actually, I put them on weld only. This only is a problem if you, like I said, if you have it on weld only. If you had it on, well, even weld before grind. So I'm doing this, and all of a sudden, oh, I got somebody, he's picking all my stuff. You either have to set the ignore color, or you gotta make sure you have grind turned off. So, weld only. Interestingly, though, I thought it was funny though, is that you noticed that he wasn't touching this yet. By the way, when you're going to place a block, so you first select a block, and you notice this happens particularly because I start with landing gears, and it's like way out there. If you hold down the control key and scroll it in, it brings it in and out. This is also can be an issue that some people have had in the past, where they're trying to place a block and they can't get it to place. Usually it's like this, and I can't see where I'm doing. This block is too close. You can scroll it out, and then you can like get in there. Or it's just like, as you can see, it's just like it was wanting to be in there. This is like, it's too close. So before you start complaining about the game being broke, remember to check, just scroll it in and out, and just, you know, it's particularly handy when you're trying to place something that's really, really big, like say a refinery, like a full-size refinery. You know, look how close that sucker is, and this is like, it's really hard, so you want to get it out and away from you. But then if you go to landing gear, that might not be where you want it, so you might want a little closer when you're trying to place it. Alright, so now Bob's not gonna really touch this because I have not established ownership on that yet. I will be as soon as I place this freaking weld this battery together. Well, it's because the battery does have ownership even before I weld it. So now, once the battery's placed, he'll weld everything else. Put that there. Put this on here. And I'm gonna stop right now because I just remembered the whole thing I was trying to do was, I think I have the parts for it. That, so I can turn them on and off. Because until I get that, projection placed, I don't want them doing anything. So there, now I've turned him off. What will happen is you're trying to place the projection, so you turn it on, and you're trying to place it, it's upside down, and on the wrong side. You're trying to place it, and all of a sudden he just starts welding because he made contact with a block, and now it's just like, particularly if the blueprint like launches and the projector is like right in the middle of the thing, and it'll just start welding. And you're like, no, 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 no. So we want a miner now. Oh yeah, I added this. Do I want to use that? It's a bigger one. It's nice because it's one of my favorite miners. It doesn't work really great in atmosphere, but it works great in space, and it chews up a lot of material. It's one of the few miners I built with a large cargo container that it's fully worm capable. In other words, it can burrow all the way through. That's large grid. Ultiminer, yeah. Block's not available. Oh, did I not fix this blueprint? Yeah. This one keeps... It's going to try to launch the entire ship that it's attached to, i.e. the Dragon. We're not welding that bad. Like that'll take months. Or at least weeks. I gotta fix that at some point, but not right now. I thought I fixed it already. Blueprints. Hate that one. That's a ground miner. That one works great, but it's only atmospheric. We want to go to space. That one's okay. I didn't realize I had just such crappy choices of miners. Let's see if this one will go. There we go. Let's take a look at this. It's got 4 reverse thrusters. It isn't completely horrible. It's not super big. It's only got, I think, let's see, that's 1 medium cargo, 102. I think it has, yeah, I think it has 2 medium cargos. That might work. Might not totally suck. Alright, let's get you vertical. Oh. Alright, where are we gonna put this sucker?
Energy low.
Yeah. My hourly reminder to go sit down for a bit. All right, good enough. So I generally start these off the back. I don't know if I gotta. What you want is a nice, so when you use a half block, that's not gonna work because it won't, you can't attach a block that you can grind off. Looks like that's gonna be, is that a whole or a half? That's a whole block, cool. That's what we'll use. That's where we'll go. Let's crank this forward. This one is placed correctly. What I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna place this head slightly, and then we're gonna bring it back down. I have to go one more, but we're gonna grab some steel plate. take those up till we get contact there, which is good. We got good contact. We're actually getting 3 blocks for the price of it. That's the, yes, that is the one that we want. Cool, so that's all good. So now we're just gonna turn that over to Bob and we're gonna let him handle it. Just gonna make sure that we have our parts squared away. We're gonna need more grids. Did I make more grids? We got a lot of thrusters, and those take 4 metal grids per. It's either 2 or 4. I can't remember. And it's like 20, so it's on there. It's 4, so I'm gonna need like 80. So let's just kick out 100. I think I got the cobalt for it. Also, I'm gonna change this. I don't understand why it does that sometimes. It's supposed to be the biggest grid, and it's trying to say that something called smart grid, which is probably the A2 rover I just made, is got more blocks than the base, which, looking at it, I think I agree. Not S2. Oh. So the only problem with Bob too is that because he's welding, he's gonna keep changing the name of this. So what I tend to do is go over to the antenna and I go A2 rover, copy it, go here, paste it, and hit OK. The reason I use the antenna is I know what to look back for, and if I don't change it, because a lot of people just rename the antenna so that it shows up properly without having to select show ship name in the antenna. So that's a pretty common place to look for it. Alright, so that's going. Actually, first things first, before we get too far gone, we're going to need to be able to land that sucker somewhere. What we need is a landing pad.
Fuel low.
Your fuel's low.
Fuel critical.
Alright. Alright, where are we gonna stick this? I need to be able to pipe it. Got my rover over here. I'm not getting in the way of stuff. I want to keep it clear of that. Let's take it off of there. Call it done. Go with that. All right. So I need some parts. Well, I'm glad I made those metal grids, man. Chewed them right up. I want some of these. Let's start with that. I know I said you can just like select up blocks when you're like playing them out, picking them out. Actually, you want actually want some of those so that I can do these. But old habits die hard. That's kind of more of the point, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I want. That's too close again. This one. Let me go down. Over. up, and then we're gonna put a connector on it. Tight on. Now Bob's actually gonna start helping me and not focus on that stupid rover, which is gonna irritate the hell out of me, but what else? So I really need you to work on the miner there, Holmes. It's fun. It'll be fun. I could just do this. That way he stays out of it for a while. We're gonna do this like this. There. And do these here. One of them bars there. So while I'm using the ignore color, he won't weld my stuff. He'll focus on the other thing, like I want him to. And then I can focus on putting this together. I need. So if you want to use the whole like hold a block against the thing and get that, you want to get construction components kind of cheaply. One block to use is that one. Not that one. What was it? Lights. That's it. Just go to 2, 3. Go to a regular just interior light. Hold it up there and just. Oh no, we out? Yeah, we out. Do that. So now I gotta fight Bob for parts. I only need a couple. So, because we need a way to get onto our platform. I'm not flying up there all the time. That's just crazy talk. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a stair over here. Like yo. And then a stair over here. There's a couple different ways when you need to extend the stairway here. Back in the day, we used to use a corner light. Then the new hotness was using the corner. So the first method was you take this and you place it right at the bottom of that step there. Come on. That. Then the new hotness was starting to use the neon tube corner down because it's really small and very discreet. What I started doing was I actually started just putting a plate there because it was so hard to hit with the corner light was hard to hit, and you'd be trying to place the stair and you'd just be like all over the place and you couldn't get it. When I started using the steel plate, it was a lot easier, but it doesn't always look right. So yeah, it depends on your use case. This use case is fine. So I'm gonna weld this up and then I'll repaint it. This one's gonna be this color. Yep. And this one I wanted to be white. So one of the cool things that Bob has in its repertoire is when it's working on something and you want to check the status, you can just log into something, go to here, and then you can look at, like, if it's missing items, like you need to manufacture components, it'll tell you, and then you can just see it's telling you how many blocks it's got to build. So he's got a ways to go. He's gonna be busy a while. Grab that, and then now, if you've gone through your proper space engineer's training, what you know is that, so to paint something, you take a block with your color painted like the one that you want, and you just hold it against there, and you metal click, and you get it. If you want to paint multiple blocks in an area of a 3x3, I think it's 3x3, you hold down the control key and click. If you want to do a much larger area than that, you can hit shift, which I don't recommend. If you want to do the entire grid, you do control shift. You want to be very cautious with that because you can end up painting your entire grid when you don't want to. Alright. Time to get a little fancy. Since we're waiting for Bob anyways to weld. This is the only downside about using Bob. Bob welds at the grade of a at the lowest grade welder. It is his one drawback. I think it's I like it because it's like the grand equalizer. Someone said there's a way to adjust that, but I don't know what exactly it is. I think it's when you're in the menu when you're picking welding speeds for the entire game. But I just leave it. And essentially what it does is it acts like just that other guy, you know, another player that's playing with you, who's working on an entirely different thing over in the corner. So oh yeah, that's right, I'm placing them in color. Derp. Oh, that's fine. It's easy work, Bob. It's all good. Alright, so that's all together. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the name of this connector to station or SG pad connector. I want, this is going to be the station connector rover, and then there should be this one, station connector escape pod, because we're probably not going to use that thing anymore. I mean, we might. It's got a lot of thrusters on it, but it's once I get playing the and I get to a certain point where I'm self-sustainable without having to use, you know, my survival skill graded stuff, the escape pod tends to get retired to sit there and look pretty. And if all hell breaks loose, what I do is I usually park it someplace that, you know, has a ability to charge itself and what have you, and stay charged and ready. But for the most part, it's there in case all hell breaks loose with the survival kit on. So no matter what, I have a respawn point and a way to kind of start if like things go south. So just help Bob along here and get this done. Actually, it should be done enough. Do I have cargo and generator? Cool. So first thing I want to do while he's doing that, put these parts away so I don't keep throwing them all over the place. But basically, I'm just gonna throw a couple 3 rounds of ice in it, so because it builds with decent sized batteries, and then it'll actually start charging the tanks. And because it's hydrogen based, it's not gonna be, I don't have to wait a really long time for the batteries to recharge. I can, but it's not its main source of propulsion. Batteries are there just really to kind of manage all the other services, so you don't need a whole lot of battery on a hydrogen based ship. Just make sure to turn the hydrogen engines and the gyros. The gyros aren't that important anymore. Long time ago, they did a rebalance, and thankfully they did. It used to be like the gyros used an unruly amount of power. It seems that they swapped that ridiculous power consumption with wheels. It's now the wheels using like that. So if you see, well, you're always wondering, why does he put a hotbar to shut his wheels off? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, because your wheels will just sit there when you're doing nothing, just drain out your battery. So by default, Bob, the build and repair system does all the armor plating last. So when I'm helping Bob, because he'll do the internals and he's really good at it, but he tends to blow off welding all of the blocks. So I do all the blocks. Plus it's really easy, you just sit and just kind of paint, because almost all the blocks are just one steel plate anyway. Unless you built something that's got heavy armor. If that's the case, that's on you. Fine with rovers, horrible on flying ships. Some people's solution to like Bob being slow is that they build like 10 of them. You know who you are. I always say it's like, it's not that much time. Relax, Francis. Alright, let's see. Bob's gone quiet. When Bob goes quiet, it's always a good time to check to see how much he's got in his queue. 3 computers. One is to see if he's missing parts. 2 is to see if he's done. Other than that, looks like, yeah, it was just the 3 computers for that sorter, so. The other way to check is you go to this projector, and it's done because it's removed, because I forgot to select keep projection like a dumbass. It's fine. Alright, let's see. Oh, all of the stuff is on our control bar. That's handy. And we're at 37% on the 138. Which means that we can take off. So I'm going to turn everything on. I'm going to cut this bad boy loose. Park it until we go to need it and let the batteries charge up and the tanks charge up. Now we have a miner and a rover with no time. Now we're going to do something else. I'm going to paint this thing. Let's make sure. Sometimes skins can confuse Bob. Rarely, but sometimes. And then I'm going to put him in weld before grind, and he should clean this up. I always goes for landing gear. I know it's the grind order, but still just makes me laugh. Alright, what do we got? If we're gonna go to space, we're probably gonna want a jump drive, and we're probably gonna want reactors, even though we need to go to space to actually get any kind of uranium. Can't get uranium or platinum here, which means that we can only build 2 of the 3 types of thrusters for ships. Atmospheric, which we've seen, and hydrogen. We cannot build ion thrusters, which is the 3rd of the series, which is good because you can only build them in space, or use them in space anyways. I mean, there's a theory that you could make a ship with enough ions where it can fly in atmosphere, but it's such a power reduction, it would have to be a litany of them, and the power consumption would be ridiculous, so it's kind of pointless. And considering that atmospherics tend to just basically lose any kind of power ability after about 5,000 to 6,000 meters, really the only way you're getting off the planet is with hydrogen. Or a clang drive. So, where we're at now is into designing a ship that can house our rover so we can explore, look for ores and what have you, and our miner. The miner's not too much of an issue because all we have to do is just have a flat surface on there somewhere. We'll probably not finish the design tonight, considering the fact I'm not gonna design an entire ship in an hour, let alone weld it. But considering the fact that I am getting ready to do design stuff, it's time to shut Bob off. So first things first, put you back into weld only mode, which I usually shut up here. Okay. Wow. So you can actually set up buttons so that you can change the mode. So the first one is going to be weld only on, and then the third one is gonna be weld before grind. So there, now I can turn them on and off. I can put them into weld only mode or into weld before grind, which is basically welding. So I'll do that, then we'll do that. And considering I forgot what state he was last in, yeah, okay, cool. All right, now we're gonna build, design a large grid ship to go to space. There are many like it, but this one will be mine. my first thought is like, I could build a Twinkie. I'm not building a Twinkie. I'm gonna start off with a bunch of steel plate, and I'm gonna move a little bit away from base. Actually, I'm gonna point about here. I won't need that hole anymore because I got a miner, so I can actually just fly in, so I don't need a big ass drill or anything like that. We're gonna get a big ass landing gear, and we're gonna place you right about there. Now, what I like to do when I do this is I instantly put a battery on top of it, because I don't want to accidentally grind this landing gear, because my entire large grid will be sitting on this landing gear, and if I grind it, and I'm pretty good about that, so I'm gonna weld it, and I'm gonna weld that battery up, but I'm not gonna put cells in it. The reason being is because it will keep me from accidentally grinding it up. Plus, once I start designing stuff and everything like that, it gets really hard, so that you, with that block there, I know that that's what this is sitting on, so when I'm trying to rearrange stuff, I know I can't remove that block. So we're gonna need a hull design, and I'm just gonna come back a little bit. Actually, yeah. So we're building this way, up that way. So we'll use a single keel center line design. So we're just gonna do this bit. And what I'm gonna, actually, I have a really interesting idea. So in the past, what I've always done is put like a little kind of garage in the back for the rover. But I have in the I have one time, and I think I'm gonna do it again. Actually, is what I'm gonna do is actually put probably about right here. I'm gonna put a compartment so that I can basically put a piston inside it with a magnetic plate, and I can drive under this thing. Actually, can I drive under this thing? It's 2 blocks. This is shorter than 2 blocks. Oh yeah, it'll be fine. As long as I make sure that this is the lowest point, we're good. And what's my length? Looks like we're longer than 3, so we're gonna have to be at least 4. So 5 it is, because odd number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this. Righteous. Need a little room around it. So what will happen is we'll make it so that what we do is we drive a little rover under here, and we'll have a piston that will basically come down, pick the rover up, and then we'll put doors on this. If we're gonna put doors, I need to go one more. So, and by doors I mean, because I build ships, I like having them airtight, because you never know what you're gonna get into. This is actually, man, this will actually be pretty cool. Now the question is, do we use these hangar doors or these hangar doors? I don't want to use the windowed ones, those are kooky. I think we'll just, let's do these ones. This will be kind of cool looking. I like it. Already I'm digging this. Actually, that makes it 4 blocks. Well, I think we're just barely over 3, right? Yeah, because that's 3. Let's just check. It's tight. And that's assuming we're able to place that sucker like pristinely. This does make for an interesting challenge here. I'm gonna have to, if I want to make this work, I'm gonna have to do something a little unorthodox for myself, which will make this whole build unique and challenging for me, which is always the best kind of builds. I'm gonna do this on the even. It's not something I normally do, but it's what will work.
Fuel low.
Always you with the fuel.
Fuel critical.
Get over there. Alright. So, if we're doing on the evens, we gotta add another block in this bad boy. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put another battery in here. Now we can do it this way. No. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 4, 5. This thing's gonna be kind of like a. I'm thinking. I'm reminiscing of the Imperial Star Destroyer kind of thing, where it had in the opening scene of Star Wars, where it picked up the Corellian cruiser into its bay. Well, you know what that means, cats and kittens. We're going for an arrowhead design. That's got to be the lowest point. So not necessarily. We're just gonna have to have it lift off and reset before we broke. So we can't load it. Can't load the rover as is. We'll have to make. We'll have to fly it a bit, and before we get the landing gear on it to make it, or we'll have to make the landing gear in such a fashion that it can sit high enough, or we just hover over and pick it up. One of the two. All right. So if we're gonna go with arrowhead design, we need to kind of take a look up here. How long will this ship become? Almost works. So most of the arrowhead designs tend to have a taper So I figure we're gonna have to be about. I don't want to make something super big because the more crap I add to this, the more it takes to weld it. Maybe a little bit longer. The thing about designing ships is that what I found is that your whatever you think is too small. You're like, oh no, that'll be the right size. No, it'll be too small. Because you'll get there and you're like, wow, you know, and you're thinking you're making it way bigger and it needs to be way bigger and it needs to be, and then you start to get into the finer things and you're like, no, man, it'll be not long enough and it'll look really boxy. It will be too tight and you can't fit anything in it, so like, oh, I can't even get a freaking refinery in this thing. And if it's large grid, you should at least be able to get a refinery. I know that since I'm on the evens, I'm building on the evens, I know that I'm going to, the refinery will fit. Cargo is going to be the tricky part. And so I'm just gonna, right off the bat, plan on figure out my cargo situation, which is gonna probably be right about there. Cargo blocks are 3x3. Which means I could put them right next to each other like this. So let's grab them. So we could do like this. But then we either get screwed where we have to go way the hell up here to get forward and back, or what I can do is start my, what I'm thinking in my head, which is I'm gonna be going out like this anyway, and this will be amidships. This off and put it right here. We'll do the same thing on the other side. There's a lot of cargo, yo. We're gonna have a lot of thruster on this to account for, because I need 2 large hydrogen thrusters for each one of these if they're full. And you gotta figure one of them's gonna be full of ice anyway, so. And to do the small thrusters, that's 9 per 9 plus. Oh no. I always do that math wrong. I think it's 5 or 6. All right, time to consult the spreadsheet, the devious spreadsheet. No. Okay, engines. All right, I'll put this on screen so you can see what I'm looking at. So, large hydrogen thruster, large. It's 3x3x3. it produces max lift of 7 through 4 yada yada yada, but the small version is 110, so that means 7. So it's 7 smalls make up a large, which space-wise they're actually less. But these are a little bit more fuel efficient, I think. Yeah, because 8 times 7 is 5,600 and this is 4,800. So you lose a little bit of, you spend a little bit more fuel, but you gain a little bit of space back. So that's an option we have available to us. Okay. But if we got 2 of these, that means that for just down thrust to leave atmosphere, if these are both full, and I usually use that because I'm not accounting for ship weight, which I don't even know yet. So I just plan on both of these being full. That means that we're talking about, like I said, one of these is 1 point something or other million liters, and I need to be able to push, you know, and it's 700,000 for a large thruster, so that's why I always say it takes 2. So it's either going to be 4 large hydrogen thrusters, or it's going to be 4 times 7, 28 small thrusters. And the parts are not going to be cheap. We're going to need a lot of coal. Either way. So if we're going to need 4, might as well just factor those in right now. So let's just put those in right now and just take a look at what we got here. Oh, I haven't built the tank yet. That's hilarious. Alright, well, let's I forgot I started with vanilla, which means that I have not unlocked all of these things yet. This is an easily solvable thing. Just go over to here and we go, actually I could probably do it on this thing because it's got one right there. Because Bob welded up the, or no, I didn't. Bob didn't do it. It was the because the welder I used welded that up. I didn't get the points. I didn't get the win for welding up a hydrogen tank. So what I did was I grounded it down under functional and then welded it back up, and so now I get the ability to make hydrogen thrusters. Alright, there we go. So when doing something like this, you want, or I want to account for the large amount of space I'm going to lose because of them. So that means that I need to put them in first. So anything big, so cargo containers, refineries, large thrusters, stuff like that. Like the small thrusters, I could snake those around anywhere, but the large, things that are large like this, I need to kind of account for them right away. Speaking of which, I do want to get a refinery in here. Now the beauty is that I'm on an even keel. So I can actually do this, which is actually pretty cool. 9, 5. Oh yeah, which means I can also put my assembler right here as well, while we're joshing around, just like that. Whew. So pretty. Now, if I want to have this being a walkway, that means that I will be limited in the amount of modules I can put on. I basically wouldn't be able to put modules on, but I generally don't. Little secret for me, I generally don't put modules on ships. I put them on bases. Refineries on ships are, you know, generally just a, like if I have room for a large one I will, but generally I just use the basics, and it's really just to kind of like make repair parts until I can get to a base to, you know, refine the actual materials. Because refine, like say like you go out to space and you mine uranium, having the ship mine the uranium is kind of time consuming, you know, because you're only going to have one unless you build a gargantuan ship. It's got multiple refineries and you're adding multiple modules. The better idea is to, plus you're not going to mine that much uranium or platinum or anything like that, the things that take a long time. You're going to mine, you know, 50k at most, 60. I mean, unless you get like a really sweet deposit. Still, it's a small enough amount that even in its raw form you can put into a small jump cargo ship and drop down to the planet and throw it in a refinery and then go back to exploring, which is kind of my plan with this, is that we're gonna be doing space exploration. Oh, that's right. Yeah, too small inventory. I can put both in. All right. So this stream and next week's stream is really going to be like the art of. Well, this isn't going to be a capital ship. We're not going to go that big. This is about as big as we want to go. And I might not be able to pull off an arrowhead because this is the body on this is already super wide. But what I am going to do is start seeing if I can taper this midships. If I can get this, because one of the things I try to establish really early as a body style, because then I'm once I got that figured out, then I don't have to do as much kind of janking around. Right, that's there. So sometimes when I build stuff, and I think I've talked about this before, is that what I do is I'll find a picture of something that I want to kind of replicate, and it's not one-to-one. I mean, I've done one-to-ones before, and those are really hard because it's like you got to spend a lot of time thinking about stuff you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time thinking about, like, oh, is this the right block? And it's like, the only downside is that I have a tendency to paint cargo access ports colors, because the same button to use to pull inventory from a box is the same one to paint said box. So if you're not right on that frickin' cargo access point, you end up changing the color of the block. So I'm thinking one more row of that. too much of that garbage. Ooh, we're gonna need more. How am I doing on iron? Oh, we got tons. Alright, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the other reason why I don't want this to get too big is because the bigger it is, the more steel plate it's gonna take to freaking weld it. Alright, where are we at? We're right on there. Yes, we're right on target. What is this western garbage, man? It's a Wild Wild West? Oh. Do like how this is playing out though. The ship design, not the song. Ah! Come back here. I think that's a freaking one, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, at the very least, this is going to turn into, so, I mean, it covered a lot of the basics, so this is like, I mean, in the line of things, this is, other than going into small grid ship design, which is, you know, it's small grid, it's, you know, you do you kind of a thing. Oh yeah, worked out right how I wanted it. So this worked out really well because it's one block high, which means that I can go 9-8 and drop this down, and I can just put my side thrusters. In fact, do I want even 5? Ah, what the hell. I mean, this amount of down thrust I have, I might as well. You don't need a whole lot of left or right because it's not a maneuver. Sidestepping is not something that do a whole lot. It's really just there for helping balance and turn. You won't, like, I don't even need all 4 thrusters to get in space. I just need these to get me up into space. What I'll do is I'll assign 2 of them to normal operation and 2 to actually be planetary ones. They're only on when we're trying to enter or exit an atmosphere. But that profile is actually slickest. So what I can do then is right about there, I can carry this contour through here, and at some point I want to start trying to get a taper going, but it's going to be too early here. So like putting those, like I keep those thrusters there, I might shift them down, depends on how far I have to maintain that. So we should just go ahead and plan that we're going to be here. I'm going to take those thrusters back up because I don't know. It's more of just kind of a look, but because of the fact of how long this is going to end up having to be, I might end up shifting where those end up. So So, like I said, small ones are easy to place. It's the big ones where you have to kind of think about it a little bit. Kind of want to have 2 in the front and 2 in the rear, but the problem is where they're located. If I'm going to keep this concept, which I really want, like it's kind of one of the things. How I say this is like you have to kind of identify what the core concept or core purpose of the vehicle is, you know, and like the core of it is basically being able to move this miner and that rover. And the miner is easy. All I have to do is just stick a freaking connector up here, park it, be done. I might do something else, but minimally that's all I need. Do have an idea how this is gonna go, or I'm starting to get a feel for it. You know, everything can change before I'm done, but I'm at least starting to feel. Starting to get its own feel, and that's how, like I said, this is when I've talked about like design approach before, which is it's like, you know, one, try to once you get a comfortable and you're starting to get a style of things, that and you start to feel yourself being, you know, repeating yourself, change it up. But with like for me with large grid. In the past, I've always gone hull shape and then fit everything into it. But this time I'm going with, all right, what are we doing with it and how can I make that work? So. What are you doing?
Fuel low.
There we go. My stream deck was being a little weird.
Critical.
Started showing stuff offline that's not offline. It's like literally the music's playing. You should not say that it's not available. Weirdo. Time to do a little cleanup. Bob tends to be a little dirty. Tends to hold on to stuff. Plus I found is like when I'm doing things like parts go everywhere. Alright, back to the fuel thing. I probably should. God dang it. So, and what I've said in the past is always kind of like do everything in basically grid format first, because it's much easier to change your mind and just grind away the structure than, you know, the unwelded girder aspect of it than it is to have it all welded up and go, God, ugh. I mean, it's different creative, but even creative, it's like, you just have it all together and you gotta like delete a bunch of stuff. It's frustrating. So, I'm pretty happy with this midships. What I might do to save time is I may have I use Bob, but I'll probably end up welding some of this. This is kind of what I did with for those who've been for a really long time, what I did with the Twinkie, which is do all the welding garbage offline so no one has to sit through. Nobody got time for that. get it. You take steel and you weld it, you know. If I have to, I'll save all like the, make sure that I pause on any kind of like anything that's not welding, like mining and stuff like that. But no one wants to sit through a bunch of like just going through and welding blocks. That's boring. It's boring for me. So I always come up with new and exciting ways of doing it. I think that's usually my challenges is like, how can I do this in such a fashion that is, you know, like block welding, that keeps me entertained and challenges me, but isn't just outright like just doing like a cut paste or something like that. That's why in the Mars series, oh, that was one of the things I was gonna talk about. That thing went off the rails on me last week. There was a definite plan I had on how that was supposed to go. It did not work at all. Not any element worked the way that I had wanted or planned. I was like, ugh. So subsequently tomorrow when I go and do that stream, I'm going to that's why I also haven't posted a video yet, is that I have to basically do some for the continuity that I was looking for. I have to basically, and it was one of those things that I was trying to decide last week. It's just like I kind of figured out how I wanted to fix it, but I was like, I could either do this offline, but this is like, I've got a good couple hours of, if not an entire episode of me basically fixing this, so let's just do it that way. So that's my thought process. I'll explain it more tomorrow. Essentially, I did offline figure out how to get the ship landed on the planet. It took 3-4 tries. I think it was three tries, because I knew it could land. The first time obviously was you know, crash and burn, and that was on video, and I think I actually even did it a second time and it was like crash and burn, and then I did it like 2 more times offline. I think it was on the second one offline. It was the second or third one offline I got it to land. But the problem being is that, and I know how I did it, I had to glide plane it in, but the problem that came up was that it was too heavy to, it's just too heavy to take off, and that's what was causing the original problem. But it's also yeah, I got it landed, but it means I can't get it off the ground. And so instead of, you know, continuing up, the whole point was is to kind of start into the Frostbite series, and like I did play like probably about an hour's extra of that, way longer than I really should have. Played it last night, but that night. But I'm gonna pause on like continuing in that series because I haven't really properly officially finished this. Yeah, I haven't did the things that it didn't work. Things didn't. There's supposed to be a flow from like the one thing to another. It's the idea is that I wanted it to not be me just starting a whole brand new series. I wanted it to be an extension of the existing series, just a second chapter. So I had this whole plan, and of course plans, you know how plans are just gonna fail miserably. All right, so that's gonna work. All right, I think I'm gonna abandon the arrowhead thing because it's, with the size of this thing, it's just gonna be too freaking wide and too many blocks. So we're gonna go with the pencil method, or the just start bringing this to a head. So my thought is like, okay, this is the main body, and what I do is that I need to come up with a back end But the front end, I can probably just start tapering that into a point, and that'll be okay. And then hopefully by then I'll figure out what to do to the rear. Also, I am keeping in mind that I have to weld this, so if you notice there's access for this, like I'll probably have Bob do some of it just so that I can get it done faster, because this is going to be, as you can already tell, this is a ton of blocks. So one of the other things we're going to have to do is, I don't think we've mined any magnesium yet, so we'll have to put that on the list. This is also because we're going to need ammo. Let's see. I got silver. That's the wrong spot. Yeah. Oh, we're going to need to throw a jump drive in here too. That's got to go somewhere. Probably up front here somewhere ish. Which I could probably put it on the top. Probably, you know, my problem with the jump drive is that it's another. No, I got it. I don't have it unlocked yet, do I? I have to do that first. Version. Yeah, jump drive, I need to do the grav gen, and which is fine because I'm gonna want one anyways. What I can do is a placeholder. My thinking is I want to leave a space there, so I gotta, yeah, cool. Let's do this in. I ignore. So jump drive is 3x3x2, so I'm thinking, no, I want to skip that one. Oh, let's go back here. My thought process is that take those out. The jump drive, something I've never done. I've always done it horizontally. I was just thinking, I don't have to do it horizontally, I can do it vertically, and I'm just going to use these interior wall blocks to mark out where it's going to be. So what I'm thinking is this. So, well, one space off the refinery so that I can put like because one, I got this connector here and I can double up the connections, and so I'm not relying on this only connector off of this cargo thing for these things to, in case there's an incident, because you lose one connector and then you lose all your hydrogen. So these will be like conveyor blocks and could make for a walkway at this level or something like that, who knows. But then just move this, you know, come off of those blocks and be one block forward and still keep my walkway, which is what I want. So that way I can get up here into here, and then I can put like other things or stuff. I'm doing pretty good. I mean, considering the fact that I have, the only thing I need to do is I gotta get at least one, not two hydrogen tanks on here. And my thinking, and I'm gonna do that right now. Color back. Might change these blocks out later. That's not required though. I am thinking that they are going to sit here because they're going to be all the way at the ASN, and I'm going to have thrusters off of them. So let's line it up right about there. What is that? It's not supposed to be there. like, yo, and yo, and then I'll have these bad mamma jammas. Actually, these ones are cooler. Same parts, just different looking. So I want to check something. Better. Yeah. I already have two directions, man. All I have to do, and we kind of already know what we're doing for left to right. So we got up, forward, left, right. Just gotta figure down and back, which will come.
Fuel low.
If we're not careful, we're gonna burn up our base. We gotta take off. Okay. No. And we might pretty that up a little bit, but that's a good placeholder for now. We'll need to run. We'll need to run some stuff to pipe that in. But for efficiency's sake, actually, while we're here goofing around, while we're talking about it, while we're thinking about it, we can just put these in line. Three aside. Don't want to get too crazy because it's a lot of power to draw. Gives us room to work out what we need to do here. Just like yo. And yes, I'm only using 2 tanks for all these because I've watched so many people overbuild the crap out of their tanks. I can go a really long time on 2 of those things. And to keep in mind is that about 700, somewhere in the realm of 700,000 to 800,000 kilograms of ice will fill one of those tanks. So you're talking about 1.6, 1.8, depending, because I haven't done the actual calculations. Million stone worth is going to be of hydrogen. Plus, like, the more tanks you have, the more volatile your ship becomes. It's just like, you know, you hit one and it's full, and you blow up the whole damn ship. You know, so fuel efficiency. Even the dragons only have 4. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, so it's coming together quite nicely. This is usually how these things go. This is like, okay, so I got cargo figured out. I've got hydrogen generation figured out. I've got thrust mostly figured out. Got assembly and refining. You know, got a little bit of like ship docking to work out, which isn't super epic. I got the rover thing, but I'm gonna have to work out how that's gonna play out because the piston's gonna be off center ish, maybe. I mean, it'll make for some interesting streams because we still have a lot of stuff we have to figure out, but we're getting we're getting a foundation together. You know, we're getting a. Actually, it looks pretty slick from the side. So the trick's gonna be the, which is always the trick. It's gonna be the front end and the back end, but I do like the sleek. I like them slim and long. We're looking from the top here. Yeah, it's not too boxy. It's actually getting pretty long. The rear is going to be a challenge, and I've got some ideas on how I'm going to fix that, but front and rears are actually usually pretty hard. Midships is usually, once you get the kind of like idea going, like, so yeah, alright. And I think there's where we're gonna call it. Go into our little base. Have a seat in front of the TV. Probably need to put something on that TV. No. Alright, so yeah. Thanks for joining me. Next week we'll continue to work on the design portion of this. I'm probably going to start with doing some mining. Like I said, I'm gonna need magnesium. If we're gonna do a jump drive, I'm gonna need a butt ton of gold and a little bit of silver. We're probably going to want to plan for reactors, even though we don't have the uranium now. We're going to want to get it eventually, because that's going to be one of the first things that we're going to go like hunting for. And then, so we'll be getting that, and we'll probably get Bob going, and we'll probably need to get more iron, and iron production going, and we'll get Bob going on just welding stuff. Once I'm going to wait till we get at least the hull squared away, so we figure out where everything is at, because it's, like I said, it's much harder to cut girder than it is to cut through finished blocks if I have to change something around. But until then, I'll, if I don't talk to you before, I'll see you next week. Thanks. Good night.